We're going to see how to change between mixed numbers or fractions and improper fractions. Let's start here with a mixed number. It's a mixed number because it's got a whole number, 1, and a fraction part, 3/4. So the 3/4 has a denominator of 4, and that tells us that our improper fraction will also have a denominator of 4. So that's the first part we need. Now what we can do is think about what it looks like. If we have 1 and 3/4, we've got one whole and we shade the whole lot. And 3/4 means we take exactly the same size whole and we break it into 4 equal parts, but we only shade 3 of the 4 parts. So we've got more than one whole but less than 2. So there's our 3/4. Now what we want to do is express the whole also as quarters. Now if it's quarters, it means it has 4 equal parts. And that means our whole is all of them. So it's 4/4. So we look at the denominator and that tells us how many parts to break it into, and we shade all of them. So we've got 4/4 and another 3/4. So all of a sudden we can think of it as just quarters. 4/4 and 3/4 means we've got 7/4. And if we want to write that as an improper fraction, the denominator is 4 because we've got quarters and the numerator is 7. And it's improper because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. Now you can see here, if we compare them, we take up exactly the same amount. 7/4 is the same as 1 3/4, but we just label it differently. Now what about 3 3/4? Well, we've still got 4 as our denominator, but this time we've got 3 whole parts. So 1, 2, 3, and we've still got 3/4. So we only get 3 of the 4 shaded parts here. So this time we break 3 of our wholes into quarters. So we'll get quarters there, that's 4/4. Another 4/4 means there's 8/4, and another 4/4 means we've got 12/4 altogether, instead of thinking of it as 3 wholes. And then we've got 3/4. 12 plus 3 is 15, so we've actually got 15/4. So as a fraction, our denominator is 4 and our numerator is 15. So it's improper because the numerator is bigger than the denominator, but it's the same as 3 3/4. It's just written a different way. Now this time we're starting with an improper fraction. How else could we write 9/5? Well, we've got fifths, so if we think about what this means, we want to see how many wholes we can make. We've got 9/5, so let's have a look. There's 5/5, but we've got 9/5, so we need 4 more fifths. So we take a whole, break it into 5 equal parts, but we only shade 4 of them. So we've got 5/5 and another 4/5. And you can see that 5/5 is the same as 1 whole. So now we can think of it as 1 4/5. One more. We've got 21/5 this time. We're going to think about how many whole pieces we make. If we have 21/5, we can think about counting groups of 5/5. That's 5/5. Then we have another whole, that's 10/5. Another one, that's 15/5. And another 5/5 there makes 20/5. Now we need 21/5, so we don't need another whole. What we do need is a whole broken into 5 parts with only 1 part shaded. That's 1/5. So we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 21/5. And what you can see is those shapes that are fully shaded, they're wholes. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1/5. We have 4 1/5, and that's exactly the same as 21/5.